When I came into the blockchain space in 2017, decentralization was the only thing that was the selling point for me. Fast forward to today, I'm an advisor with the Blockchain Legal Institute. I'm sitting here wondering, how did that happen? But the problem is that when we talk about regulation, we need to separate out two distinct areas. We have regulation that is stifling innovation, but we have regulation that is promoting consumer protection. So whenever we talk about this really broad topic of what does regulation actually mean, I think it's always important to fine-tune what is it that we are actually talking about. Now, I'm very much against regulation that stifles innovation. The projects that we work with, founders are from all over the world. However, when you hear where they are based, it's only a few geographies because, of course, those are the ones that support the innovation that they are trying to build. On the other hand, when we talk about consumer protection, this is an open question. Who is protecting consumers in Web3? So if there is a push for regulation and everyone in Web3 that is pro-decentralization are asking what the heck is going on, why are we trying to regulate this space that's distinctly separate from the financial industry? Well, the reason is because a lot of people are getting really, really hurt, and that is why regulation is important. So from my perspective, I've seen both sides. I've seen the benefits of regulation. I've seen the massive cost of regulation. And I think it's open season as to what's going to happen in the future. But the trend that I have been seeing for many years now is certain countries, because of the adoption that they are taking in terms of maybe it's a sandbox regulation, but it's still a regulation. There's clear regulatory guidelines. That makes for a very different environment in which to build, as opposed to a country where founders are like, am I allowed? Am I not allowed? May I do this? May I not do that? So I think in terms of regulation, unless a country is very clear, maybe they are pro, maybe they're against, but there's clear guidelines, we are just going to continue to see so much talent draining from particular geographies and going into others.
Would it be possible if one of us, some of us can share a little bit about how these regulations have changed over time from, like, for example, 2015 all the way until now? What are the things that have been, adopted and kind of like compromised as well? Would maybe some of you guys
I can definitely share a war story or two. I had a communications agency in 2017, 2018. That was the ICO era, the initial coin offering. What that meant is any project raising funds could raise funds right on their website. Now, if that sounds unsafe, it was extremely unsafe. And it was interesting to the point where, as a business owner who should have been extremely happy about an endless flow of money coming to my company, it was, oh my God, every second person that I speak to is trying to scam their users. So it got to the point where I told myself, look, this is the crossroads. You choose now, are you going to go the dark side? Yes, you'll make a lot of money, great. Or are you going to stick to your principles and start saying no to almost every client that approaches you? Fast forward to today, I'm in a very related business. Of course, now we are in the business of launching tokens as opposed to just selling them, marketing them. It is very different today. First of all, because of the IDO, the evolution from ICO to IDO, it's not perfect yet, for sure, not by a long shot. But what has happened is there have been more guardrails that have been put in place. In 2017, there was almost no guardrails. So what I am seeing in the evolution of the regulatory space, but more from a peer-to-peer regulation, is that more and more people are becoming completely unwilling to put up with unethical behavior. Now, I would love to say that Web3 is a magical utopia where we leave the problems from the old world behind. No, we bring all the unethical behavior because we are humans and human nature does what it does. So I think there's a lot of positivity. For me, the balance is always, when is it too much top-down? So when is the regulation from the top stifling everything below it, as opposed to there's no regulation, but then there's nothing from the bottom up except those people who really want to just rug pull and dump and scam. So it's a fine balance, but I think there's a positive trajectory going forward.
But I mean, to be really honest, right, I mean, from a marketing standpoint, when you're looking at education, you're either educating the consumer or you're educating other kind of like businesses, right, like what you guys are mentioning for Bhutan, where the government is actively adopting real use cases of blockchain, right? Whereas from a marketing standpoint, right, it's kind of like easier to get eyeballs or interest when you're talking about topics about like gaming, right? Gaming, NFTs. You already have like specific groups of people to market to. So like, what are some of the difficulties to really get these communities to listen to you, or to even like understand what you're trying to teach in terms of education? Because, you know, Felix, you mentioned education, right? I would say that Singaporeans, we are pretty savvy in terms of financial stuff, but we are still the #1 targets for scams because of greed, right? So education will kind of like help to a certain level, but wouldn't we still fall victim to scams?
To education, there's education for people who are interested in what is happening in this space. That's a particular subset of people. Then, if you have been seeing across the news the concept of pig butchering, it's getting a lot of attention at the moment, where those people who are the victims of pig butchering, this is when someone, a scammer, essentially, you know, befriends you under a false name. You know, it's the kind of, you meet someone on Tinder or on Facebook and you chat to them, and before long you're a few million out. Now, we look at these kind of things and we go, well, how can any sane person get to the point where they've lost $2 million? But then, when you start understanding that those people participated in crypto not because they were interested in crypto, they were interested in the relationship, but the relationship was based on this false scam. So for me, I don't think we need to only educate people who are interested in this. We need to educate everybody. Because the only way that someone can believe, yes, if I give you X amount, I'll genuinely make 100X by tomorrow morning, you need basic education. You need to go, okay, you know what, if this is too good to be true, there's only one reason, and that's because it is too good to be true. So I think that we really need to start separating what is education, because not everyone is even interested in understanding what a blockchain is, but they should be interested only for the pure sake of protecting themselves, to understand if you're going to invest in a cryptocurrency, that's really not possible what they're promising you.
Yep. And I think that will round out our session here. And I think really the key takeaway is, if it's too good to be true, it probably is, right? And it's evident not just for Web3, but even in like Tinder, you know, dating apps, that sort of stuff where you fall scam, right? And scams are everywhere, so everyone just, you know, be on your toes, especially during this hot period in the whole Web3 space. It's really very hot. Just careful and don't get burnt too hard.